Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Nicole Roberts Jones, who is the CEO and founder of Fierce Factor Lab. Welcome to the program, Nicole.
Yay, thank you for having me. I'm excited about our chat today.
Cool. Well, give us a little bit of background of your entrepreneurial journey and tell us what a Fierce Factor Lab is.
So, telling my story, I have to tell you that my journey is how I got to my own fierce, and don't worry, you'll understand. And the men that are listening, do not discount yourself because you think you can't be fierce, because you are. So just insert ferocious if you need to, right? So, I didn't set out to be an entrepreneur. I didn't. I was working at a job that I worked in the entertainment industry, and for all intensive purposes, I looked really, really successful. But inside of me, I had this rumbling in my spirit looking for more. And the reason I'm starting with that is because many of your listeners may be in a place in their business where on paper, because I look really successful on paper, they have this level of success, and yet they're yearning for more, whether it's more money, more opportunity, just more, right? And so for me, every time I try to talk to a friend of mine to say, I don't know if that job fits, because I was working on the number one TV show on Fox, and this was in the 90s, by the way, and I'm not going to give you years because then I age myself, and that's not what this show is about, right? And so every time I tried to tell one of my friends that, I didn't feel like my job fit, they kept saying, have you lost your mind? Do you not realize what you do for a living? And so in the middle of me feeling dazed and confused, a friend of mine asked me to volunteer at a program at our church. And that night, when I walked into the church and I started working with young women, every time their eyes lit up, my heart lit up. And by the way, what I was doing was coaching, but this was in the 90s. There was no such thing as a coach.
Yeah, we didn't know what that was back then.
Right. And really, one of my girls told me, you're my coach. I'm like, what the heck is that? You mean like I don't coach you on a
I don't have. Do you see a whistle around my neck?
Right. So literally what I was doing, I can tell you this now, but then I couldn't articulate it. Really what I was doing was drawing out the best in them and helping them carve out a path to align their purpose with profit or a paycheck. And so really what I began to do is I started looking for a job to do that thing, to do this thing that many people were calling coaching, didn't know what that was, so I kept going on this counseling field. And so I went back to school and got my master's degree in social work. To make a really long story short, my expertise is program development. And so what I have done over time in my own entrepreneurial journey is I have merged my love for production and talent development, which is what I did in entertainment. And now I do that as a coach, and I help entrepreneurs and corporate executives align their purpose with their paycheck. So what Fierce Factor Lab is, for those of you that are still saying to yourself, what the heck does Fierce have to do with all of that, right? So, of course, all of you guys know who Beyonce is. If you don't, I'm going to wonder where you've been the last 15 years, right?
And then Google.
Right, exactly. So when Beyonce's on stage, she calls herself Sasha Fierce. See, when she's standing on stage, she's standing in the full power of her gift. She's doing the very thing she was born to do, and she's unapologetic about it. See, from my own journey, Mike, when I was working in entertainment, I had gotten to a place that everybody else told me what I should do or be. But I hadn't stopped long enough to ask myself, what do you want? What is it that you really love doing? And when I began to ask myself that, or answer those, ask it and then answer it, is how I found my fierce. And now that is what I do full-time, is help other people to carve out a journey for them to live as the highest and best version of who they were created to be.
So I love it. That's awesome. That's great. But what do you say to someone that throws the wet blanket on that and says something to the effect of, I don't even know what I want?
Good thing. Good question.
Because that will come up, right?
It does. So I walk people through a 4-step framework. I call it my Find Your Fierce framework. So if you don't have a pen, you guys get a pen.
You've got some good alliterations going on. With the paycheck and the so I'm liking that.
That's my entertainment background, so it does come in handy. It really does. So, and here's the thing: nothing happens on accident. So everything I've been through has brought me to this moment that I'm in now. And I'm only sharing that because everything all of us go through is for purpose. If we can see it and really look for the lesson and use it to make it who you are. I call it the stew of you because I make really good greens if you ever get invited to my house. And I have a little sweet and a little sour in those greens. That's what makes my greens really good. But anyway, to answer your question, you can see I'm a chatty Cathy. I can go all over the place. So find your fierce framework. Okay. The first is, what are you passionate about? What do you absolutely love doing that you would do it all day and never, ever look to be paid for it? See, for me, and I, in my book, Find Your Fierce, there's a picture of me when I was 3. Now, I have a carriage, right, a baby carriage. I'm pushing a carriage in this picture. And most babies, especially little girls at 3, when they have a baby carriage, there's what in that carriage? A baby.
The baby.
Right. Well, not me. I have books and papers, and because I've always been a creator. I've always been, even at 5 and 6 years old, I was that kid that when we're playing a game, we say, we're going to play Batman. Okay, great. So you'll be Batman, and you'll be Robin, and I'll be the robber. And I just robbed a bank, and I set the whole scene. Who does that at 5? Me. So really, and now what I can see is when I'm talking to you and you're telling me the things you love, I can automatically pull out how to move that into profit. So I'm automatically wired that way, and I love it. Never feel like I'm working. So I'm only using myself for an example so that you see you have to be passionate about it. The second thing you've got to be is, what are you proficient in? What are you really, really great at? What's your skill? What's your gift, right? Those two things have to meet, because if I'm really great at something but I hate it, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, then it's laborious.
And that's the people, when you wake up every morning, you hate going to work, it's because you're in your proficiency, but you're not in your passion. There's a disconnect, right? And so you've got to love it and you've got to be great at it. So when I first left entertainment, I didn't tell you guys this story. I love shopping. My husband would tell you that I'm a shopaholic, but I would say I'm in recovery. Anyway, so I tried to get a job in the fashion industry. Went back to school, and I realized sitting in those classes, I hated it. I love shopping still to this day, but I don't care about the texture of the clothing. I don't care about what color looks good on other people. I'm not good at that. I only love it. So I couldn't get a career in that. I would hate my days. So again, you've got to be passionate, proficient. The third one is, what problem does it solve? So you've got to realize that your passion and proficiency is the very thing somebody out there wants, needs.
Because that's a good point. Hopefully a lot of people, and I'm sure you watch Shark Tank, and you see this brought up so many times, and one of the sharks will say, I don't see the problem that you're trying to solve. How big is the market? What's the problem, and why are they compelled to then be attracted to this thing?
Exactly. And along with the problem, it's like, who has it? So, it's not every person. It's not like if I said every entrepreneur, no, every entrepreneur is not a good fit to work with me. So you've got to realize who is that target market that has the problem, and how do you solve it in a different way in your marketplace, a way that is not currently being served. Or here's the thing, it could be currently being served, and that's fine, but you are going to do it different because there's nobody out there like you. So just to review, what are you passionate about? What are you proficient in? What problem does it solve? And then number 4 is the one that everybody wants to get to first, is how do you make profit from it?
Yeah.
And
So here's a question too before we get to profit, because I think there's a step that could come before that, which is the people that are already in their W-2 cage, prison, job, whatever you want to call it, and they feel like, yay, here's my passion, here I'm ignited, I'm fierce, but I can't jump out of this and jump into my.
Can't.
So how do you have one foot in one world and one foot in the other, and then when do you make that jump? And then there's so many things, right?
I love this question. So, typically what I tell a client is, if you just leave your daytime job, then you're going to be hungry. You're not going to pay your bills. And who wants to be struggling like that while you're building your passion? Then you start to hate it, right? You start to resent it, right? And so you want to build your business alongside your 9 to 5. And this is where I talk to my clients about really building an online program. So, see, you have expertise in you, and if you can package that in a way that you don't have to be present. Like I'm talking to you right now, Mike, and I have clients in Singapore and Aruba that are watching an online program, and I'm not there, one of my online programs. So really, it's if you build it that way, you could be sitting at your desk at your 9 to 5 while you're building your business alongside it.
And And guess what that might mean? It might mean to cancel your subscription to whatever and quit watching TV till midnight and take, take. Now, does that mean I can never watch TV ever again? Nope. But guess what it might mean? It might mean to put it on a schedule and go, okay, I've got to watch my whatever show, so I'm going to do that on Tuesday nights, or I'm going to do it on whatever because I'm going to DVR it. But I'm going to take 2-hour block of time on Monday and Thursday nights, and then a 4-hour block of time somewhere on the weekend. And over time, now here's the thing with balance. You need to have work-life balance, but you can't take 4 hours a day plus your full-time job plus your family and then 12 hours over the weekend. You'll get burnt out. So if you can do something like this and go, got this dream, got this vision, my goal is by X number of months or years is to be fully into my entrepreneurial, or you know what? Sometimes some people might go, you know what, if I can get this remote and digital and teaching and online, maybe I can just scale back and not travel as much in my full-time job and have this just kind of as a nice little, side business. It just kind of gets down to that why, right?
Right. And I love that you said that because I call it seed time and harvest. So in your seed time, when I was building my business, my bonus children were like 11 and 13. And so I still had to do the mommy thing when they were with us and get up and cook. And so I would wake up at 4 a.m. before the whole house woke up. And I would totally work on my business. Then at 6, by then they're getting up. I'm making breakfast. I'm getting them ready, feeding my family, getting myself out the door. Because, I had 2 daytime jobs to pay for my nighttime calling. That's how I said it. So I was a university professor online, and I worked at a university. So I would have to go to work. So I would work, and then I could do what I wanted on my lunch break, right? So I'd close my office door. Now, before I had office, I'd go sit in my car, and I'd have a client eating while I'm coaching, either in my car or in my office with the door closed.
And if there was a hidden camera on that would be quite interesting, huh?
Well, if there was a hidden camera, I'd be on the call in the meeting because you're doing the same thing 9 times out of 10.
Right, but the point is the people on the other side of the phone would be going, oh, look at my coach. And then they're like, what? You're in your car? I'm in my mobile office.
Right. But again, it's seed time. So if I didn't do that then, I wouldn't be here now. So many people see the glory, but they forget all the stuff you went through before you got to that great moment.
Yep.
And if you're not
and plus, isn't it the same thing as like the overnight success? Yeah, it might sound like I just hit it, but you didn't see the tip of the iceberg, below the iceberg, the 10 years of grinding.
Right. And I love that you said, and by the way, I love he said work-life balance. I don't believe in work-life balance because every time you try to do that, you fail. But here is what I believe in. You've got to know what you need and how much of it you need. So every Friday, even when I was going through all this, every Friday I still had date night. I still had my weekends off. I'd work Sunday a few hours in the afternoon, like from 4 to like 7 or 8 p.m., but I didn't work on Saturday. That was girlfriend time, go hang out, go lay by the pool, because you still need time for you. Because if I wake up at 4 a.m. Monday through Friday, there's no way I could do Saturday and Sunday too. I would just be exhausted.
Yeah, because, burning the candle both ends, whatever analogy you want to think about, at some point, gracious, it's just too much. And it reminds me of, did you ever read Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek?
Yes.
One of the things that stood out at me, of course, of the fact that there's just no way that anyone can ever do a literal 4-hour work week. It was just all conceptual because, come on. But one thing is he said, why wait until you're 60-something to retire and then go travel the world? Why not structure your life and business and career around taking, I forget what he called them, but, kind of like sabbaticals or something where it's like, I'm taking 3 months off. And I might run a business, but I've got it set up where it's going to run without me because I have people or whatever, or online products. And I'm going to go travel for 3 months. And I'm going to, the money I spend on my trip is coming in. So it's, kind of a break even. And I feel refreshed and I come back and I can hit it now because I took that break. And then at that point, why do I need to retire at age whatever? Because I can do that till I'm 75.
Right. And see, that's why, when I learned this whole concept of having at least 6 streams of income, so, you can do some one-on-one in person, whether it's coaching or consulting, depending, I have clients that are lawyers. Of course, some of you will still do that. That you can't get away with that. But then if you do some group kind of programs, some online programs, you have some joint venture and affiliate programs, the thing that my husband teases me about, and I travel, but when I travel, I seem to always end up going to an event and speaking at an event where one of my good girlfriends is. And he calls it my glorified summer parties. Oh, here you go on another glorified slumber party for the week. Because it's fun. I might speak on Monday, but I have the rest of the week to go to dinner and let's go shopping, and I'm in another city. And so I love that you said that, and my business doesn't stop. Like next week I'll be in New York, and 2 weeks after that I'm going to New York again. But, I can continue to travel. I just came back from Florida. So it's like I can always be on the road, and my business never stops.
Yeah.
Because I have more than one way to serve my clients.
That's a huge, huge opportunity, and I think it's a mindset shift because I think a lot of people think about the old quote-unquote punch in the clock, right? But guess what? What abilities we have these days. It's kind of like if you're a small business owner and you want to go international, wow, that's a big old, but you can sell international by hooking up a good, something on your website. Well, these days doing what we're talking about with taking some of your expertise and knowledge and packaging it up, and I don't care if you know underwater basket weaving, maybe someone else wants to know that. Now you need to do some research and all that, but the ability and the tools and techniques that we have these days to do this and do it super easy without having to learn all kinds of crazy things, because you can hire someone for cheap or you can learn to do it yourself with some online tutorials. The time is now, and there's no greater opportunity to do that.
Exactly. I mean, just to give you two examples of people that, many people think you can't do this online. I had a client that was a caterer, and she wanted to stop doing all these catering jobs, and so many people were asking her to teach them how to cook. She started an online cooking class. So they're recorded, by the way. She did the first few live, and then she just started playing the recordings, and people are still buying it. I have another client, I have a few clients. Lawyers seem to love me. But, one of my clients who is she's a family practice attorney, but the majority of what people come to her for is divorce. And I said to her, how many people do you turn away because they can't afford it? And she looked at me. I said, yes, so if you created that online at a lower price point, and no, you're not giving them legal advice, but you're walking them through all the paperwork that they may not even know that they have to fill out. So, again, it's looking at how can you take the expertise that people are paying you for, and every time you turn someone down because they can't afford you, you're leaving opportunity, you're leaving money on the table.
Well, and another word that jumps in my mind is legacy in this sense.
Yes.
If you've got something pent up in your mind and you never get to it, or it's just in your notes in your kitchen desk, what good does that do for you, your future, your kids, your legacy? But if you can get that out to the world in whatever platform that you can think of, what if you've got a YouTube channel with a gillion videos and one day someone stumbles across it and is like, wow, that was some awesome stuff. What if you write a book? What if you have a blog? What if you have a radio show? Whatever you want to think about that way, because some people might go, I can't do video. Fine. Get on a phone and do a podcast, or, record some things, or write your thoughts down on a blog. But somehow, some way, maybe some of these things, these unique experiences that you had, can live beyond even your little small sphere that you run in. And I think that's a big piece.
Exactly. And you never know how, it amazes me to this day. Like I said, I have a client in Singapore, and the first time I talked to her, I'm like, how the heck did you find me? And you'd be surprised how word travels. And how one client may know someone else, and before you know it, you have people all over the world that now can benefit because you said yes to packaging your brilliance in a different way. Yeah,
I love it. So let's wrap up with if someone is hearing something in this chat and they go, ooh, that's interesting, I need to learn a little bit more, I don't understand it, but I'm interested enough to learn a little bit more, what's the best way for them to reach out and connect with you?
Sure. So go to my website, NicoleRobertsJones.com. And actually, there's a free gift there called Show Me the Money. I would grab that. Or you can go to ShowMeTheMoneyGift.com. In that, it's an ebook that shows you 15 ways you can make money from your gift now, from your brilliance.
Love it. Well, thank you, Nicole, for your time. It was wonderful to chat with you and get to know you.
Yay. Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.